Have you ever had bubble tea and wondered what's the story behind it? You may have never thought of it, or you have, but you didn't dive deeper into it. Well, I'm here to tell you that the story is just as interesting and diverse as bubble tea itself. So bear with me as we dive into bubble tea's history, as we slurp up the information and knowledge on how to make one for yourself, and how it burst into popularity. So, let's get started. Uh, I hope history is your cup of tea as we dive into bubble tea's history. According to tealeaves.com, it all started in the 1600s when the Dutch colonized Taiwan. After the colonization, the Dutch had an ample amount of milk and sugar, which then became staples of their tea culture. But this all changed in the 1980s when two tea houses paved the way for boba tea. These were the Han Lin Tea Room and the Chow Shao no Chan Shao Tang Tea Room. Now they both claim to have found black pearl tea. So let's look at their stories. Lu Han Che, the director of Chan Shao Tang Tea Room, claimed that she founded boba tea in 1996 when they were at a meeting. She had some tapioca balls and she poured it into her tea. She then urged others to drink it with her. They were reluctant at first, but then they decided to give it a shot. To everyone's surprise, it was really good. They then later added to their menu, which then it became very popular. Now, Hanlin Tea Room claims that their founder, Tu San He, founded tapioca balls in 1998. 1988. When he was out on a trip to the local market in Taiwan, he saw some smaller tapioca balls and decided to experiment with them on his own. He then made them more bigger for a richer and tastier texture. He then found out that the tapioca balls were hard to consume. So he then worked with a plastic company to trade the now known as the boba straw. Now, let's all right. Now let's look into the science behind tapioca balls and how it's made. Have you ever wondered how it's made or how they got their flavor? Well, look no further as I'm going to tell you. It's quite simple. According to Science America, all you need is a sweetened drink with tea, milk, and brown sugar. And of course, the fun balls. But have you ever wondered how these balls are made? Well, let me tell you. It's quite simple. All you need is tapioca flour, water, and brown sugar. But with the secret ingredient being the temperature of the water. Now, before we start cooking, let's look at the ingredient of the tapioca flour. What makes it different from wheat flour is that wheat contains starch, proteins, and fiber, whereas tapioca flour only contains starch. Now, this is important because of how it interacts with the water. So, if you cook it with cold water, it turns into this goo-like substance. Whereas you cook it with hot water, it swells and breaks apart and forms new connections which can hold water through a process called gelatinization. Now, if you cook it with a syrup water mixture, it adds flavor to the tapioca balls. What makes this process amazing is that no matter how long it has passed and no matter how dried it gets, it will never return to starch again. Now, let's wrap up the science and look at how it rises to popularity. Boba tea is known as many names, like black pearl tea, bubble tea, pearl milk tea, tapioca milk tea, and boba milk tea. Now, all these names are just proof of its popularity. So let's look at where it started. It all started on the west coast of America when Taiwanese immigrants came. It soon spread to the Taiwanese American community, but the fad didn't just stop there. It spread all throughout America. According to Business Online Today, eh, the it became so popular it spread across America. The but the real question lies: how did it? How did? How? Why was it so popular? Well, that's quite simple. It was because it was new and inventive. But the real question is, how did it stay in popularity for almost 30 years? Well, you can boil it down to a few reasons. One of them is that it it leads to change. Now, when the craze started to die down, all sellers did was create new things and flavors. It was Americanized. Sellers also had a lot of wiggle room in what they can deem bubble tea. So they innovated stuff like fruit boba tea, and they also added new toppings like grass jelly toppings, almond jelly, egg jelly, and red beans. They also were able to create in new forms, like the ice cream form. Now, this change kept customers keep coming back. Now, I'd like to wrap up this session as we talked about its history, as we searched up all the information you need to know on how to make it, and how it burst into popularity. Now, next time when you are having bubble tea, you ever catch yourself wondering how it's made or its story, you know. And hopefully you're able to share it with all of your friends, as its story is truly unique, just as bubble tea. Thank you.